Let's go back to Maya. Maya, tell me about that investor meeting.
I was so excited. And I remember I felt like suddenly it could be real.
Okay.
And I remember being unable to sleep. I remember being very nervous before talking to Eric on the phone.
Okay.
Eric doesn't know that.
When you were going to talk to him on the phone, did you know, like, I'm going to ask him for money or I'm going to ask him to mentor? Did you have any idea what you're going to say?
I knew that investors give money. That's all I knew back then.
Oh, that's
right?
good.
I didn't realize that they can be amazing mentors, that I was going to learn some of the best information from them.
Okay.
I really didn't know. It was kind of honest. But what I noticed is how nervous and excited I was about it.
Now, this information that they could teach you, I mean, you're a professor of machine learning. Is it more skills or is it more just business? Is it more connections? What type of information can they give you?
Well, really all of the above. Doing a startup is different. It's kind of, some of the skills of being a professor are transferable. I have experience in managing people. I've experience inspiring people, doing original ideas, getting project to completion. But a lot about a startup, about the business ecosystem, about the culture even. How you relate with business people is not the same way that you relate with your colleagues. For example, I will never forget how in an investor meeting that was going very well, the investor asked me to brag about myself.
Okay.
And that really threw me off.
Really?
Then,
why?
Because it's just in academia, you know, first of all, you know who you're talking to.
Okay, based on their research papers or their titles.
It's very like credential based. Like you shouldn't have to tell anybody that you're an amazing researcher, that you've done some really important work, that you know that you're on the committees reviewing on all the most important conferences and journal reviews for AI. Because for me, people that I talk to in academia know that about me. They know that I've done foundational work in clustering. They hear me talk for 10 minutes about my work. They know I'm amazing, and so I don't have to say things like that.
Okay. But the startup ecosystem, brand new.
How are they going to know? I mean, they're not in my world.
Yeah, they're not connected on LinkedIn with you.
They're not Sean. They're not all connected with me. So it's and also they're not in my industry. So they might not know what does it mean to be a computer science professor. How is it different from just having a PhD? World of a difference. But it's not fair of me to expect them all to know that.
Okay. So would you say that startup founders might have difficulty bragging about it or selling themselves?
You just have to be honest about who you are and understand that investors are not in your world. So you simply need to tell them who you are in the clearest way possible.
Okay. If people want more information on that, look at the episode where we interviewed Doris from Silicon Valley Speaks. A lot of great information on your presentation. But Maya, please talk a little bit more about your encounter with investors and what's happened since then.
So this was a long time ago. So Kilowatt Capital really helped us get started, and it made it real. So I had a lot of super basic questions, like how do I open an entity? What kind of documents do they need?
Wow,
like,
really simple.
Yeah, but at first it seems so obvious. I mean, right now it seems so obvious, but back then you have zero experience with it. Nobody around you has any experience with it. When you go online, you get a whole bunch of controversial opinions. That's one of the biggest problems with just Googling. You just get these extreme of people being sensational and arguing really unusual perspectives when you just want the basics.
Okay.
And books are often outdated.
Yes.
So I really found myself in this state where I needed the advice of real people.
Okay. And the mentors or that investor was the one giving you this real advice.
Yes.
How'd you know you could trust the investor or not?
For the most part, I mean, I think part of it was that we were lucky. We really had a person who had our best interests in mind, who really believed in what we were doing. Over time, I did learn after a few months that people really have different perspectives.
Okay.
But I do think that he really helped us get started on the right foot.
Okay.
And then a few things, in a few ways, we also got lucky. So we got a good lawyer pretty quickly.
Okay.
So right now, if I have questions, I very often call up my lawyer. We have him on retainer. Huge, amazing resource. Also, people I get along with really well.
Oh, what resources did you outsource or go for that's really helped your team? A lawyer on retainer, an investor that's a great mentor.
Then we have more. We also eventually you need to go back and look at your own network. In fact, that would be a better place to start had I known better. So Kai Milderberger, who has been a longtime friend and colleague. He's started 15 businesses, and many of which are successful IPOs and sold very well. So he is right now our advisor.
Okay.
So
how do you go about finding your advisors?
So he was in our network.
Oh, okay.
And it's sometimes, even if you're pretty well connected, you might not. People who don't do business, sometimes they're not used to even using their own network. because you're not used to thinking like that.
Yeah.
Because in regular jobs, even in the professor job, which is fairly flexible and is somewhat similar to having a business, it's a lot more structured. We don't even realize how much structure there is in our lives until there is nobody above you in your company. There is nobody to blame. There is nobody to, there is nobody to share the, well, I have co-founders, but still there is nobody above me that I can sort of defer to.
Well,
which can be hard.
How'd that switch go from being the professor where you had people you had to report to now being the boss? How was that transition?
It's a very interesting one. Overall, I think I like it. I think it fits who I am, and it's a kind of a very kind of healthy progression in my career.
Okay.
But in a way, there is a very interesting self-redefinition that happens. It's very profound.
Okay.
I found a lot of time finding myself thinking, I feel like I'm rediscovering who I am.